will go through those steps. Similar to the alignment steps with the invention disclosure, there are a few alignment steps associated with it. The processing that's going on right now is quite a bit more complex. We're actually generating this large legal document that is a patent application. Typically, these will be 30 to 40 pages that cover the invention in an enabling way. They're satisfying all the requirements of the patent office for non-provisional patent applications. So you file this as a provisional, you later convert it to a non-provisional, you will get the full benefit of this filing. So the first alignment step is the target for protection. So this is a very concise articulation of what are we going after? What specifically is the invention? Why does it matter? It'll be 2 sentences. And again, you have the ability to refine it, or if you would like it to be re-articulated, you can click regenerate and get a different articulation of this idea. This helps kind of focus our system on the invention, the core of the invention itself, to draft an appropriate patent application. I will click accept and continue at this stage. The next checkpoint that you'll see will be on the figures. So our system will auto-generate a number of figures that are standard for patent applications. But we also want to include figures that you provided. So at this next checkpoint, the system will show basically the images that were extracted from the disclosure document. So this is the disclosure document again. These images are now presented to the user. The user can select or deselect these. Sometimes, if you're using like company documentation, there may be images of logos or things that you don't really want in your patent application. This would be the opportunity to deselect those. You can also reorder the figures as you like. Once you have done this, we will go through a process that includes 2 alignment steps per figure. So I selected both. The order that they were presented in originally was just fine. So accept and continue. The next checkpoint that we see is going to be a list of the components in the figure that should be described. So we'll be looking at this figure. Which components do we want to have described in our patent application? This is an environment figure, and what's really relevant is just the people that are there and the invention itself, the AR goggles. If your figure has labels, so if we had like a text label and a little arrow going down, all of those text labels would be picked up by our system, automatically read and presented to you. If there are no text labels, like in what I have on the screen here, our system will infer what is important, what should be described, but it does it in sort of an over-inclusive way. So we get to this first checkpoint, and we've got this kind of long list of things: a tabletop, a cube, a tablet. We don't really care about those things. Really, kind of the most important things to talk about are the inventor, the attorney, and the invention itself, which is the AR headset. So I will click accept and continue there. The next checkpoint that we'll see is a complete description of that figure as it should be articulated in a patent application. So you'll see it's a very kind of formal description. There are reference numbers associated with the different components described in the figure. Each component will be described in detail. It will talk about the component. It will give examples of the component. It will talk about alternatives to that component. And then it will complete the section with a discussion of how those components operate together to perform the invention. That sort of format is just textbook patent application drafting. So we've got sort of the introductory sentence. Figure 2 shows the AR meeting tools. The components that we talked about, that we identified in our last checkpoint are listed here. And then each component is described individually and then described together. So you will want to read this, make sure that what's being described is complete and accurate. The details are true and correct. The examples and alternatives make sense. Is free text, so you can make any adjustments that need to be made. But what's here is kind of a technically correct way of describing this figure. Click accept and continue. We would go through the exact same process for the next figure, just so we don't have to do the same thing twice. I already have one of these cooked up. I did this yesterday, but it's the exact same project. So once we finish that last checkpoint on the last figure, there will be about 5 or 10 minutes of processing while the document is being developed and written and cross-checked and all of those sorts of things, and you'll arrive at this screen. So there's a number of documents shown here. We've got, most importantly, the documents that you would file. That would be the figures, so the images, and the specification. So that's the description, the long body of text that describes the invention. We've got some other things here, editable versions of the figures if you want to make adjustments to them. The formal invention disclosure that we saw just a few minutes ago is accessible again here. The input documents, so whatever you fed into the system, you can see them again here. And then a parts list. The parts list is specific to the figures that were included in your invention disclosure documents that you uploaded. So let's take a quick look at the figures, the figure file. You will see a number of figures that have been generated. So let me make this a little smaller. So we start out with an auto-generated system diagram. So this is what you would expect to see in a software patent application. Just kind of the overall kind of technology architecture that's involved with the system. So we've got devices, we've got servers, data centers, the cloud. All of these are described thoroughly in the application. Then we've got the figures that were provided by you, by the user, uploaded to the system, and then a number of other figures. So a swim diagram. So how do the different components of the system work together to perform the invention? We've got block and component diagrams. So this is the typical way that software is described in a patent application. It's described functionally. We're not talking about software code here. We're just talking about functionality. So the system will identify sort of functional buckets associated with the invention, and then describe each of those functional buckets in thorough detail. So you get a couple of those. You get a hardware device. This is a part of that enablement requirement. Believe it or not, you actually have to explain what a computer is. It's just one of those weird things about patent law, but this is the figure that accomplishes that. And then we've got a couple flow diagrams that talk through the invention. So one of them is the invention from the server perspective, and then one from the client perspective. So this would be from the perspective of the goggles versus the server that it's talking to. So this is one document that you would file. The second document you file would be the specification. So this is really the kind of meat of the application. This application turned out to be 45 pages long, but it is complete, checks all the boxes of a non-provisional patent application, title, field, background, summary of the invention in detail. We've got captions for all of the figures, and then a detailed description of the invention that goes starts off with kind of a high-level, plain language description of the invention, and then goes into descriptions of the individual figures. So this format that you see, this layout, the organization of the document, it is all prescribed by the Patent Office and kind of widely accepted drafting conventions from the kind of patent field. I'll just scroll through this because for me it's a beautiful thing. We end the document with claims. So if this is filed as a non-provisional application, these are kind of the focus of the examination. This is what's being asserted as specifically what is the invention, and the document ends with an abstract.